A puff of smoke from Jones, which is a bit worrying for him. Through the S, now he goes up to the first gear hairpin, which again is a very slippery part. They've been tiptoeing through that. Into the first gear hairpin, the ball's in the right place at the moment. And now he goes through this very tricky bit where the track is really treacherous. It must be just like driving on a wet road because their lap times are reflecting it. The ball driver's got completely out of place. Ignore the ball. He's going still through this wiggly bit, coming into that final left-hander. The ball is now ahead of where Alan is. Out of the left-hander, down the straight. He's starting the straight where the ball's just already gone. He's coming down. Now the ball is in a fast S, which is taken in fourth gear, about 110 miles an hour. Alan is now in that, to the left and the right, and then down into the final other first gear hairpin on the track. The ball's now got behind. Yes, and you'll see up on the clock in the right-hand corner of the screen, the lap time is running, and it's incredibly slow. Alan qualified, there it is, 1 minute 55.5. He qualified in 1 minute 44.1. It's over 11 seconds slower. On Friday morning, they did 1:42 round the track, and this can only reflect the terrible condition that the circuit's in, because that's very nearly a wet weather time, it's so slow.
And while we have been watching Alan Jones, so from an increasing distance behind has been Gilles Villeneuve in second place, because Alan Jones is pulling away in the lead. The car is going superbly. The revamped Saudi Leyland car, it looks the same as last year's car, but in fact it's very different. Patrick Head has built better aerodynamics into it. And now Alan Jones is gaining on Riccardo Zunino, the Argentinian driver in the Brabham BT48.
Oh, now there's a little close-up of the track breaking up, Murray. You'll see, look, there's a huge, great groove. The asphalt's broken up. Now, when it comes away, it gets ripped away from there by the big tires and all that grip. It breaks up into gravel-sized sort of particles, which then spread on the track, stick to the big tires, and when you get on that, the tires have no contact with the road at all, quite apart from all the problems of going through the ruts.
Alan Jones, there is Zunino ahead of him. Only Zunino's third Grand Prix. His first was in Canada last year when Niki Lauda retired so dramatically, and Zunino was fortuitously there to take his place. Then on to America, where he drove extremely well, and now in his third Grand Prix. Gilles Villeneuve in second place. The Ferrari going well. He's not all that far behind Alan Jones, who has now taken Zunino. Now Gilles Villeneuve has got to catch up with the Argentine driver, pass him before he can do anything, if indeed he can, about Alan Jones, who is in the lead. So, Villeneuve, T5 Ferrari, Zunino in front of him, Alan Jones leading. Over the rough part of the course they go to start another lap.
Yes, Gilles Villeneuve is still well up with Alan Jones. He's only about 3 or 4 seconds behind him, and if anything, his car is in very good shape, his tyres are in good shape, and with the reliability of the Ferrari, I would suggest that he stands a very good chance of being right there at the finish.
Villeneuve has pulled away from Nelson Piquet, who is in third position, but Piquet holding as we look at the replay of Villeneuve passing Zunino.
Yes, that's an example, Murray, of how not to do the courteous thing when being lapped. Zunino's inexperienced. It's his first Grand Prix, or his first or second Grand Prix. He instead of pulling to the right of the track and giving Villeneuve the line, he made him go on the tight line into the corner, which was not very courteous.
But Villeneuve tremendously quick as he comes out of the right-hander. Now you can see the difference in class because of the experience, because Villeneuve is got a full season, nearly 2 full seasons Formula One experience, compared with Zunino, who is only in his first full season. And Villeneuve pulling away, you can see that in the Ferrari from the Brabham BT48 as Villeneuve comes down into the slower infield towards the end of the lap, chasing very hard in Alan Jones. Chasing Alan Jones very hard indeed in the Ferrari. Coming now, lining it up for the flick through the left here, long left. Now underneath the warning lights here, there is Alan Jones in the lead. That is the gap between Alan Jones, the leader, and Villeneuve, who is trying very, very hard indeed as he comes up to the right-hand bend here. Lines it up, and he's off! He's off! Villeneuve off! Is he all right?
Well, that looked to me, Murray, as if it suggested something broke on the front of the car then, because the car never appeared to make any attempt at all to turn right. He went through the left-hand bit of the corner. When he went to turn right, it just went straight on, and that usually indicates a front-end failure. It didn't look like a mistake from Villeneuve. It was just too dead straight.
That is an incredible picture there, because you see how strong modern Grand Prix cars are. Villeneuve thwacked into the barrier and he's all right.
Yeah, we've got a replay here, Murray. Now look at the front wheels and see. Let's see if anything happens. Yes, the front wheels splay out there. Right, there's a definite front end failure, probably the left-hand front suspension, because both front wheels you can see just splayed out, and the car just went straight on with no steering.
Villeneuve has had a reputation for crashing, but that was no fault of his. Obviously some sort of suspension failure. Look at the front of the car as Villeneuve slowly gets out of it. Watch his knees come up now out of the car. You've seen, and there's the damage. A very, very shattered Ferrari. And so that leaves Jody Scheckter, the world champion in the race, as Alan Jones goes on his way, now leading Nelson Piquet, who has moved up into second position. Jody Scheckter, the world champion, up to third. Keke Rosberg to fourth. Derek Daly, the Irish driver in the Candy Tyrrell, in fifth place. And Bruno Giacomelli, the Italian, in the Alfa Romeo, in sixth position, and the last man to gain world championship points if the race finishes in the order that the drivers are in now, which seems unlikely from the way it's gone so far. Alan Jones leading. Tactics, do you think, James?
Well, now all effective opposition has been removed from Alan Jones. Piquet is still present, but not pressuring. I think he's about 20-25 seconds behind. Jones will have been signalled from his pit. He'll know that Villeneuve has gone, and all he will be doing now is nursing his car and concentrating very hard, not making a mistake. He'll be driving entirely defensively, just to nurse himself and the car to the finish line in one piece. He may be conscious of the fact that he's had a couple of spins. The engine has probably got hot, if it was a radiator that he was clearing when he made that pit stop. An incredible situation. He's had two spins and a pit stop, or one excursion, a spin and a pit stop, and he's out there leading the race, and it just shows the superiority of the Williams, because he was out there leading the race on merit by fighting his way back past everybody, which is a quite incredible performance, largely due to the superiority of the car.
Alan Jones, who until last year was very underestimated as a driver, from Palos Verdes in California and a home in Ealing, and he commutes between the two and all over the place. Ex-Can-Am champion, ex-Formula 3, Formula Atlantic, you name it, Alan's driven in it, and always extremely well. And now he is really underlining his superiority, because although he has been off twice, although he has been into the pits once, he has regained the lead in this very important race, because if he can win, as Clay Regazzoni comes in the Unipart Ensign again, if Alan Jones can win this race, it'll give him a tremendous psychological lift at the beginning of the season. And that is Jody Scheckter, who is up into third position in the Ferrari. He has driven an immaculate, reliable race. He is in the points, and it looks as though he's going to stay there, with Gilles Villeneuve out of the race. Scheckter, the world champion, in third position. Alan Jones up from fourth to first, the fastest lap so far in the race, just a whisker over 1 minute and 50 seconds, much slower than Jacques Laffitte's lap record last year, 1 minute 46.9, that is 124.9 miles an hour. And Alan Jones put up that fastest lap on the fifth lap in this 53 lap race, and he's got slower, of course, because the circuit has been breaking up, and he's had to take... And Scheckter! That is Jody Scheckter's car. It's blown, the engine has blown, and that is something you do not expect to see with Ferrari, who are famous for their reliability. So, Villeneuve out with a broken car, very much so, and now Jody Scheckter.
Yes, that's incredible to see two Ferraris out, both with mechanical failure. However, of course, it could be possible that Villeneuve had a couple of off-course excursions before, and he may well have damaged or weakened something on the front suspension, but that, with Scheckter, that's a straightforward engine blow-up. That could be nothing to do with him, and that is really a rare thing, two broken Ferraris.
And that is the unfortunate Patrick Depailler, who broke both his legs with a hang gliding accident last summer, lost his place in the Ligier team, went to Alfa Romeo, and is now out of the race. In with a bang is Keke Rosberg, number 21 in the Fittipaldi ex-Wolf car, who is now up into third position. The Finnish driver, Keke Rosberg, just ahead of Derek Daly in the Candy Tyrrell, who is well up in the points in fourth position. as Alan Jones starts the 53rd and last lap. Ultima Vuelta, the last lap for Alan Jones. He has only got 3.7 miles, less than that to go now, between himself and the checkered flag, which is going to be waved to him by that great Argentine driver, Juan Manuel Fangio, 5 times a world champion.
Well, Alan Jones certainly deserves his victory today on the strength of a lot of the bad luck he had last year, because he wasn't very lucky last year, and quite frankly this has been a very lucky victory for him indeed. He's normally a very, very reliable, very mistake-free driver. He's one of the guys who makes least mistakes of all in Grand Prix racing, and yet today he's really had a bit of a brainstorm by his standards. He's had a couple of excursions, both in non-pressure situations really, on the slippery bit, but he knew the track was slippery, he knew it was treacherous, and with that car superiority, there's no need to do that sort of thing. That's how you blow a race. He was lucky not to damage the car, get anything in his radiators, and but he has certainly demonstrated the huge superiority that car enjoys at this particular moment, although of course things change very fast in Grand Prix racing, and he may need every point he can get now if somebody else comes along with a quicker car in due course.
Alan Jones down to the hairpin, the Horquilla, almost within sight of the checkered flag on the 53rd and last lap, and his 6th Grand Prix victory in his career. He won 1 for Shadow, 4 for Saudia Williams, and now it looks like 1 for Saudia Leyland in the first Grand Prix of 1980. A race out of which, as the fans cheer him home, remember, there's the checkered flag in the Williams pit, the Union Jack ready to greet him home, and he'll be delighted to see that, because out of this race has gone Villeneuve, Scheckter, Patrese, Reutemann, Lafitte, Andretti, Jabouille, Arnoux, Depailler and Pironi, but not Alan Jones. Fangio, the checkered flag. Alan Jones wins the first Grand Prix of 1980 in the Argentine, and a famous and a superb victory it is too.
Fine drive by Nelson Piquet, Murray, coming into second place. He did extremely well. He's made few mistakes on this very difficult day in difficult conditions, and of course very hard physically because it's very hot.
There is Nelson Piquet finishing, and in third position behind him will be Keke Rosberg in the Fittipaldi. There he is, Derek Daly, 3 points in the Candy Tyrrell. 2 fine points for Bruno Giacomelli in the Alfa Romeo, and a magnificent 1 point in his first Grand Prix ever, Alain Prost, the European Formula 3 champion. So, Alan Jones, the winner. There are still 15 Grand Prix. There is the burly Alan Jones in the hat with the gold leaf on it, with Gilles Villeneuve, with Nelson Piquet, on the way to the victory rostrum. And are we going to see more of this again this year? I suspect we are, because Alan Jones, one way and another, has dominated the Argentine Grand Prix. But in 2 weeks' time, it is the Brazilian Grand Prix. It'll be on BBC Two, and James Hunt and I hope you will join us.